Hey guys, it's me Chrissy and I'm here with my 2017 wrap-up books 21 to 25 and just like a fun little update. You see the table is no longer behind me, it's beside me now. I'm not gonna move my camera because this took a while to set up, but I do have my bookshelves from outside. They are now inside. If you watched my Instagram story, I sort of filmed it, but that's what it looks like right there behind me. So now I have a bookshelf behind my head like a normal booktuber, even though it's not really about the background, but we all know it sure does help. Anyway, so this was Austen April and I'm kind of upset with myself, but not really, because I was supposed to read the two Austen books, or rather the one Austen book I have, and then the other one's like a fan fiction. And I only ended up reading Austenland by Shannon Hale, not Pride and Prejudice. And like, I don't really consider it that much of a fail because it has the word Austen in it. So that happened. And my grandma just came back from abroad, so a lot has been happening. Like the last video you probably saw from me, there were luggages behind me, those were hers. And a lot of like, she's like cleaning house right now, so there's a lot of activity. And I knew that if I was going to read Pride and Prejudice, I would probably be struggling through it because a lot of stuff is going on at home. So that's the story of that. And Austenland. This is a cute book about a girl who she ends up sort of disillusioned with real life men, and then ends up slowly falling for Mr. Darcy. And then one day her rich old relative dies, but leaves in her will a all expenses paid trip to Austenland, where you get an authentic Austen experience and you fall in love, and there's a grand ball at the end. So you're basically role-playing for about 3 weeks. And there's a movie called Austenland by the same name, and it stars Felicity Jones. No, that's not Felicity Jones. I know she's the actress who played on the show called Felicity. I can't remember her name right now, but I will say that the movie and the book are not that different from each other, but some major elements have been changed from the book to the movie. However, they still it still ended up with the same fluffy, happy, cute feels of finding true love at the end. And it was just so cute. And if you're like an Austen fan and you are disillusioned with real life men, I would definitely say to read this and watch that movie because it's really, really fun. And there's another book called Austenland at Midnight, which is basically more like Austenland murder mystery type thing. So that was cute. I haven't read that one, but the cover looked cute. But this one, I definitely recommend to read this as a light, fluffy read if you're into contemporary romance. And I don't read a lot of contemporary romance, so this was really a cute little fluffy cake for me to read. And then up next, I picked up Memories of My Melancholy Horrors by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And okay, so it's this guy who turns 90 and he's like a professional bachelor. He almost got married once, but on his wedding day he just couldn't get himself out of bed or through the door, so he decided not to get married. And then he always likes to go to like the whorehouses and stuff, and they know him really well, and then he just never ended up getting married, or like, and then eventually he stopped going to those whorehouses and he just focused on his career as a journalist. And then when he's 90, he decides, hey, what the heck, I'm gonna get a virgin. And it ends up like, there's a quote at the beginning of the book about, from I think it's a book called House of the Sleeping Beauties, like where you can't, the girl just sleeps and you can't like touch her or like put your finger in her mouth or whatever. You can't do that. But it's kind of like that with this book. He sees the girl that he's supposed to, you know, celebrate with, and then she's asleep and he lets her sleep, and then he falls asleep and he wakes up at dawn and he leaves. And then he asks for her again the next night, and then again, they just like legit sleep, not like, yeah. And eventually he falls in love with her sleeping form every day, and it was alright, but not, I can't really say I liked it. I mean, like, I didn't like it that much, and it was alright. That's it. That's all I can say about it. I want to read his other stuff. I just got this one because it was on sale and it was small, so I thought it was a good introduction to his work, and I can see how good he is, like, as a writer, but the story itself I was not a fan of. So that's that. And then I picked up a graphic novel by Marjane Satrapi. Oops, I moved my tripod thing. Okay. And it's called Embroideries. She wrote Persepolis and Persepolis 2. She's an Iranian author, and then it's so good because it takes place after a lunch party where the men go take a nap, and then the women have afternoon tea, and during that afternoon tea they start gossiping. And it's not like a made-up story. These are real stories that happened to her family. Like, her grandmother is married 3 times, and then I just found it funny how she said, my grandmother never called my grandfather by his first name. She always called him by his last name, which was Satrapi. And then she was like, when she asked her grandma why, she's like, one must always respect one's husband. And I just found that to be, oh, I ripped it. Crap. Ah, well. It's what tape will fix that. Anyway, these were just, I liked how it was a very intimate portrait of the women in Iran, and how their lives aren't everything that the media says, you know. They have their own voices and their own choices, and like, let's say getting married 3 times, or wanting to study instead of getting married. Like, one of her aunts got married at like 15 or 13, and then on the wedding night she ran away to her aunt's house who lived nearby, who was more Western minded, and then she didn't come back to her like 60-year-old husband for like 6 years, and then he died, and so then she was free to use the money that she inherited from that to study art and become an artist. So it was just a very, very good portrait of a real life, and I really do think that everybody should read this. It's so short, and the art is really good, so it's not hard to understand. So definitely read this, and then Persepolis, because that is like a must read. And then after that, I decided to pick up Fireworks by Angela Carter, 9 Profane Pieces. I picked this up because I was shopping in the online used bookstores that we have here on Facebook, and I noticed that one of the top booksellers always has like Angela Carter stuff for sale. So I'm like, well, she must really be good, huh? Because this one always has like a pretty good selection of books. So I picked it up, and this is a series of short stories in chronological order by Angela Carter, and they're all written at a time she was spending 2 years in Japan, because she wanted to go to a place where there wasn't any like Christian influence, or like the influence of the West wasn't really able to like fully penetrate, you know. So I found that to be very interesting, and it did affect her writing style. Like, let's say there's an element of a mirror in one short story, and then she takes that element and moves it onto a next story, but she changes it up and evolves it to mean something completely different in the other short story. And then you can see like elements of Japan in there, and it's just so, this was actually really good, and I'm glad I read this, even though it did take me a while, because again, like me and short stories we just don't. But this one, if you guys ever like find this, I do say, you know, give it a shot. It's pretty good. She was hailed as maybe the best British writer of her generation, which was when was she born? I know that she wrote this in the 1970s, so yeah. And then last but not least, this will only take you, like, if you're a fast reader, maybe 30 minutes. If you're a slow reader like me, maybe an hour and 30 minutes. That is Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. I have wanted to read this book since I found out there was a book because I loved the movie. And the guy who played Jesse was like, he was everything to me for, you know, 12-year-old me anyway. And what can I say? This was actually a very short, heartwarming, exciting book, and it was so like comfortable because like you don't know if they were really telling the truth that they couldn't die, but like little Winnie believed them anyway. And it's just how seeing them, how like the Tucks lived and then they met Winnie and how she wanted to be like them because she was more free with them than she was with her own family. And it's just such a cute children's story, and if you ever like run across it and you enjoy like middle grade stuff, like pick this up, it's really good. So that's it. These are the 5 books that I read in the second half of April. So thank you guys for watching, thank you for sticking around, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!